Welcome to A Journey to Whole Woman Health, the podcast where science, mental health, and faith come together to educate, empower, and encourage women in every season of life. We are your hosts, Dr. Jamie Irwin, board-certified OBGYN,
and Dr. Mary Catherine Nader, licensed professional counselor with a PhD in counselor education and supervision. Jamie and I have been friends for over 30 years.
Each week, we explore the intersection of body, mind, and soul, bringing you evidence-based medicine, meaningful conversations about mental health, and stories that remind us we're not alone on the journey.
So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin the journey. Welcome back to another Wednesday in Pink. Today, we are talking about something that almost every woman struggles with: boundaries.
Why do so many women feel exhausted, overwhelmed, resentful, overextended, emotionally drained, and yet still say yes to one more thing?
Why do we feel guilty disappointing other people, but somehow feel completely comfortable disappointing ourselves? Today, we're unpacking what boundaries actually are and what they're not. We'll talk about people-pleasing, burnout, emotional labor, resentment, conflict avoidance, motherhood, marriage, friendships, and why boundaries are actually one of the healthiest forms of self-respect and self-care.
We're going to unpack a lot, and we're going to also discuss the nervous system response that make boundaries feel physically uncomfortable for some women, especially those with anxiety, trauma history, perfectionism, or caregiving identities. Check.
Any of those, yeah. And maybe most importantly, we're going to help you understand that boundaries are not selfish. Healthy boundaries protect relationships. They protect your peace. They protect your energy. And honestly, they may be one of the greatest acts of emotional maturity and self-worth.
So if you're tired of carrying everything for everyone, this episode is for you. Dr. Mary Catherine Nader, what are boundaries? Lay it out for us.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, boundaries are limits that protect ourselves, basically. It protects our relationships. It protects us physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, relationally. They define where we end and where another person begins. So they're very important.
I feel like boundaries kind of get a bad rap, though. Do you?
I think they do, but I know I think I have a lot of clients who say, I need help setting boundaries. So it's like we know we need them, but then we feel guilty trying to set them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, be like, I don't know, like Leanne Morgan, she's a stand-up comedian. She's such a hoot, so funny. She's got
hilarious
a sitcom and all this, but one of her stand-up acts, she's kind of making fun of her, I think, her son and daughter-in-law or daughter and son-in-law, whatever, about, the grandbaby. And she's like, they say something about boundary. Like she's making fun of it, right? So I feel like there can be this negative connotation of like, well, how dare you that you have boundaries, right? But we don't need to think that way.
No.
Yeah, they're not bad.
They actually make people feel safe. I think of them as like setting limits, or, kids feel safer playing in an open space that has a fence around it. They know where it ends. And I think it's the same for us even in relationships. People might try to press against the boundaries, but they feel safer, whether it's our kids or our partner or our friends or coworkers, when they know, hey, here's where the boundary lies.
That's important. That's really important. So emotional stewardship, I like that.
Yeah.
That's another thing that
Clarity,
a boundary is.
Communication, self-respect.
What are boundaries not?
Not punishment. It's not selfish. We've already said that. It's not control or manipulation. And it's not mean. A lot of people, I have clients who say, but I feel like that's so mean to set that boundary. And I always say clear is kind. Setting a clear boundary is actually a kind thing to do. It's saying, here's what I can do. Here's what I cannot do. It's not mean. It's just being clear with someone.
Yeah,
These are where my limits are.
It's communicating.
It's communicating. Otherwise, they might assume you can do X, Y, Z when you really cannot.
That's important. I love that. So it sounds like the people who benefit the most from your lack of boundaries are often the ones who are most upset when you start setting them.
Yes, that's true. A lot of times when I'm working with clients on boundaries and they start setting them, like I said, people will push back against them, which helps to see, hey, here's where this might have been hurting me, but helping someone else to not have a boundary.
Yeah, you take away that advantage. People aren't going to like it.
Which is not easy.
It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Right. And there's a great book on boundaries by Cloud and Townsend. They have a whole series of books, but the first one is just called Boundaries. So if this is something you're really struggling with, that might be a good book to grab.
Okay. Well, why do we struggle with boundaries?
We talked about it before, but thinking it's mean, women wanting to be considered nice or helpful.
Yeah.
They don't want to disappoint other people. We're afraid of conflict.
Yep.
I mean, perfectionism, who deals with that? We think we need to do everything for everyone. That caregiving identity and just trying to overachieve. We might receive some sort of messaging culturally. We've talked about this for women. We talked about this with compassion fatigue, that we just receive this cultural message of caring for other people constantly, being available, which is just not healthy. And then the fear of rejection or abandonment, those can all come from maybe trauma in the past, like we've talked about. They could come from previous experiences or relationships, just kind of a sense of self-worth or not, the beliefs about the world around you.
So fear of if I don't show up in this way, if I don't do what's being asked of me, then
they're not going to like me anymore.
They're going to move on.
Yes.
I won't, they won't ask me again. They won't be my friend. They won't. Yes. Yeah. It's real. It's real. Talk about how women may confuse being needed with being valued.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big difference. We sometimes put them together as the same, but we've talked about this before with where does our value come from in earlier sessions, maybe in even our perfectionism one, but seeing that we are valued just because of who we are, not because of what we do for other people, not because of how well we are able to achieve something or how much we're able to get done. Our value doesn't come from those things. It just comes from who we are.
I struggle with this major.
Yes,
so,
we all do.
Enneagram. I know you're familiar.
Yes.
Explain Enneagram, brief, high overview to our listeners who may not be familiar.
So there's different numbers. I'm not trained in the Enneagram. I mean, I've read it just for my own interest, but there's different numbers, and each number has a different kind of, proclivity. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's 1 through 9, and it's not just like this personality test, but really there's kind of a key fear. Key motivation.
Right.
And I'm an Enneagram 3.
Okay.
Which is achiever.
Right.
So this very much my worth being tied to my achievements, it's a huge struggle.
Sure, yeah.
It can be a really good thing because I'm motivated and I'm definitely going to be that person who's going to bring others alongside me and rah, 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 let's go, go. But also let's win, and that competitive drive and that push to be better. But 3s can really get into trouble when we start associating our achievements to our value and our worthiness. And so, yeah, all you Enneagrams 3 out there, listen up.
Yeah.
Because, yes, all women struggle with boundaries, but I think it's particularly true when we do confuse the being needed with being valued.
Right, yeah.
And what's the difference there? And, yeah. Do we separate that? What is it that we need to unpack there with the being needed versus being valued?
So I think just recognizing need doesn't equal, it just doesn't they're not the same.
They're just not the same.
They're just not. They're different.
Yeah.
Because, our children grow up and hopefully don't need us anymore, but that doesn't mean that they don't hopefully value us anymore or value our relationship. I mean, that's just one small example.
Yeah.
But if we're constantly judging our value by how much we're needed, that can be a very unhealthy place to be.
Yeah.
I mean, for me and even my profession, my goal is kind of to work myself out of a job, like for my clients to get better,
Yeah. Yeah.
And still, if they need, tune-ups or whatever, something comes up, they want to come back. Like I've talked about, I like having long-term relationships, but really I'm trying to teach them coping skills and help them. So if I judged that my need, how much I was needed was define my value as a therapist, that could be a very unhealthy place to be. Because constantly making them need me.
Right, because your value increases by the fact that they don't need you.
Right. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
It's better, like that they're doing well.
Yeah.
So, and I think that can be true in a lot of different areas of life.
Yeah. I think at home, I know I can harbor resentment when I feel like they just need me and they're not valuing me, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm just the one who stocks the pantry and the fridge and is the Uber driver.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, but I feel like I need to be valued.
Yeah. Recognize the effort that's being put in.
So that definitely can show up in relationships.
Yeah.
Well, it's so hard to make boundaries. So really, what's happening when I have this kind of stressful moment going on in a situation where I know I need to put a boundary in place?
I think it's helpful. I work with clients on recognizing what is it that I'm telling myself. A lot of times this can go back to trauma. It can go back to anxiety. What is it like that I'm saying to myself about putting this boundary up? Like, they're not going to like me anymore. I'm a failure. I'm unworthy. I don't matter. All those kinds of things can be the message that we're sending to ourselves. And that can easily, like when we're overcommitting, what we're saying is, I don't matter. Like my own needs don't matter. I just need to be doing all these things for other people. Their needs are more important. Like that's not great that you're sending the message for yourself and for those around you, your kids who are watching and other people. I think when we set good boundaries, that says to everyone else, it's okay to set good boundaries. And we don't have to say why. Like the no is a complete sentence. It's okay to just say, no, I can't do that right now.
You don't have to explain it?
You don't have to explain it.
I love that. I love that.
But we might have that like cortisol response, that physical response, because it's uncomfortable. And sometimes I was working with some clients on this recently of just, we take that as a bad thing, but sometimes it just means we're challenging ourselves. We're doing something new, kind of like when you get nervous, butterflies, like, ooh, like we say, oh no, don't do that. But maybe it means, hey, push into that. It's okay to say no here. It's okay to set this boundary. It might be uncomfortable because you haven't done that before, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing to do.
That's great. I love that. Talk about resentment.
So resentment easily can come up when we are constantly feeling like we have to do everything for everybody. Yep. So we feel like a doormat, or we feel like we have no choice to say no. When the reality is that's not true. We can say no. We can step back. We can make time for ourselves. And it's actually important for us to do that. So like we've talked about before, when we say no to something, we're saying yes to something else. So no to going to do XYZ is saying yes to doing this thing that's with my family, or doing this thing to take care of myself. When we say yes to doing this thing, we're saying no to all those other things. So we feel bad saying no, but we're really always saying yes and no at the same time. We're making a choice. So this discomfort we have with saying no, if we can reframe it in that way of actually we're saying yes to these other things that we want to do or need to do for ourselves or for our loved ones, if we're saying no to something at work, can kind of help to push through that.
That's really good. So if I find that I'm having a lot of resentment, or if I'm finding something that I'm repeatedly complaining about, that could be a red flag that I need a boundary.
Yeah, you definitely need a boundary, and noticing, hey, you are in control. Like usually we are choosing to do that thing. And so recognizing what are the choices that I am making here? Because a lot of times resentment is because we feel trapped.
We feel like we don't have a choice.
We feel like we don't have a choice. So reframing it for ourselves of, what is the choice that I do have? Or maybe I've committed to this, so now don't have a choice. I'm doing it. But I can choose how I show up for it, how I think about it, how I interact while I'm there, what it looks like, how long this commitment, let them know, okay, I'm able to do it, but I have to leave by this time, or I can do it X amount of times, whatever it might be. So being clear about those things. But a lot of times when we're having resentment, it means our body is signaling to us, we need to step back and reevaluate, what's my goal here with this?
Yeah. What are some practical boundaries that women need?
I think time boundaries for sure. We need to set time to rest. I mean, kind of like the sleep that we talked about before. Resting is important. We need time to wind down. We need time to do things to take care of ourselves. I mean, we would never tell our friends or our spouses or our kids to not go to the doctor for their annual checkup, or go get some exercise, or take time to prepare healthy things. But yet we do that to ourselves, where we're not taking time to really care for ourselves. So I think that can be a really important one.
I've started putting on my calendar blocks for rest.
Yes.
Just like I would other appointments, especially those days after I'm on call for 24 hours.
Good idea.
That way, if I pull that date up, because something's come up, or I'm looking, to schedule something,
it's blocked off.
It's blocked.
Yes.
And it's blocked for rest. And that's helped me.
And it's okay to say, I can't do that. I have another commitment. That commitment might be, I have a commitment to rest that day. And that is okay. That's a good thing.
It is. And you don't have to explain. The time boundary of constant availability. I feel this.
Yes.
I feel, because this comes with my profession, and I think to some degree probably you too, and a lot of different professions. But doctors that are on call, doctors that have relationships, that patient relationship. I have patients that also I know socially that are my friends that have my personal cell phone number. And so sometimes those boundaries can get a little fuzzy, and that guilt can come in, like, well, what if I don't respond? Or what if, I'm out of town, I'm actually not available. I'm not in the office today. It's my day off. It's a weekend. But I mean, that's when I struggle with.
Yes.
And I think a lot of caregivers do.
But also I think that goes back to the clear is kind, letting people know, hey, I don't check my work email, or I don't check my work text or portal or whatever after X time. And then they know that's a clear boundary, but it's also kind. They know, hey, she's not available. She's not checking it, but she'll see it the next day. And just letting them know, I will respond within the next business day, or within 24 hours, or I'm not checking it, but this is the person to reach out to while I'm away on vacation.
Yes.
So instead of feeling guilty about it, seeing it as, I need to be clear so that they know what they can expect.
Right. And the truth is, I love to help.
Sure.
I do.
Right. That's why we're in these professions. We like to help.
I love my job. I love my patients, and I do want to help. So that pull, though, right? It's that tug and that pull of that constant availability. What else? What other kind of boundaries?
I think we talked about the time boundaries, emotional boundaries of not carrying other people's emotions, not thinking we are responsible for fixing anyone. That can be a hard one for people, but just recognizing I can't make anyone feel happy or sad or relieved, or I can't make anyone feel anything. That is their own decision. So not having that responsibility of controlling the emotions of others, that can be exhausting, and because you can't do it, so it's impossible. We kind of mentioned the digital boundaries, like setting a time maybe where you stop checking your texts or emails, or putting away social media, phones, like having a place where your phone actually goes to sleep, putting it down, plugging it in. Maybe it's not next to your bed. Maybe it's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere that gives you that physical removal of the digital things.
And a lot of people, me included, I'll use my phone as my alarm clock, but I don't have to.
No.
They still make alarm clocks.
Yes, they do.
You can get an old-fashioned one.
I have the little, just like tiny alarm clock, battery operated, next to my bed. And because for me, it just was helpful to just keep my phone in the other room.
Yeah, have that physical boundary of space of taking the phone away.
Done. Yeah.
I like that.
And then, let's see, we've talked about relational boundaries, looking at family members, friendships, and being able to say no without over explaining.
I'd love to give our listeners, and I'd love for you to give me selfishly, I need this, some language, some scripts that women can actually use when they're trying to set up these boundaries. Do you have any examples?
Well, I think, like we mentioned before, no is a complete sentence. So for one thing, recognizing we don't have to explain. It's okay to just say, no, I can't do that. But also I love I can't commit to that right now. That doesn't work for our family. I'm not available. We can even, if we're not sure, just say, hey, I need to take some time to think about that. But I do like to say, don't use that as just an excuse, like, oh, I need to take some time to think about that. You still need to come back and say, I thought about it and I've decided I can't do that right now.
Circle back, close that loop of communication.
And again, clear is kind.
Yes.
Make it clear that you're not available. And then, you can even say, hey, I love you. I support what you're doing, but I just can't commit to that right now. Like, it doesn't mean you don't love and care about that person. It just means we all have limited time, limited resources, limited physical energy. We can only do so much.
That's right. That's right. I've read this one. I'm protecting my capacity right now.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
I like it.
That is good.
I'm protecting my capacity right now. I'm going to use that. Well, here's definitely an important point. Healthy people respect boundaries. Unhealthy people often escalate when they lose access to unlimited versions of you. Powerful.
Yeah, powerful. Yeah.
Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What about marriage and motherhood?
Yes. So as women, as we've talked about many times, we often have kind of the mental invisible labor that we're carrying, the mental load. The division of responsibilities can be difficult in relationships. And I always like to point out, there's seasons of this. There's seasons of different times. Maybe if you are a new mom and you're breastfeeding, that's going to take a lot of time. And it's going to take a lot of emotions and a lot of your physical, literally physical body. So in pregnancy, similar thing. So just recognizing when we're going through these seasons, it's not forever, but it does take up a lot of your time and energy. So because of that, you might need to cut back on other places that maybe in the future you will have more time for, but just being honest with yourself about at that time what you're able to do. And communicating that clearly.
Yeah, it always goes back to communication.
It does.
Right?
It does.
Being honest with ourselves and then communicating that to those around us.
And I really do think it helps people feel safe. Like we think that it's mean, but again, it's helpful for people because they get it.
Yeah.
They really do. And if they don't, I also tell my clients, if people get so mad at you and they think you're, lazy, or they think that they don't care about you, or blah, 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 why does that matter? What if they think that?
Yeah. Let them, and then
it doesn't matter.
Let them go on their way.
Yes.
It's not true.
It's not. So them being afraid that they are going to think XYZ, why should that determine how exhausted, overextended you are? That's just not even fair. And the reality is they probably won't think that. They'll probably just say, okay, I'll ask somebody else.
It goes back to telling yourself that story. Yeah.
Yes.
So true. So true. Yeah, that invisible labor of motherhood, it's, we're the carriers of the things.
Yes.
And we are the holders of the things. There's some beautiful poetry and beautiful art that's been put out there just illustrating this, but it's true. I mean, I'm the one who knows what size clothing both kids are in right now, what shoe size they're both in, what teachers they have. their favorite foods, their favorite, not that my partner doesn't,
Right.
but we really are holding on to all of that, carrying that, the dentist appointments, the laundry, if the baseball uniform is ready to go for the playoff game, all of it, luggage, what shape is it in, who needs more underwear, who lost all the socks, what does the dog need, the grooming appointments, the vet appointment, on and on and on and on and on. Like, we really do
carry it all.
And again, not to say that our counterparts, our husbands, our spouses, our partners don't, but I think there's something innate in us that allows us to do it well, and we want to do it well. I think a lot of women, most women, have that nurturing capacity, and it gets heavy.
It does. It's a lot.
It gets heavy. Well, what else should we talk about here with boundaries, MK?
Well, we talked about the things with the motherhood, but I think this is good too, just to think about. We often tell ourselves we should be with our kids all the time, or we should be always available to them. And I've told so many of my clients, it's so much better for you to be with your children less and be a happy and healthy person when you're around them than to be with them all the time and be resentful and short-tempered and mean. Like, that's not great for your kids just because you're there. But if you take time to take care of yourself so you can be a better mom to them, that's actually good. That's good for them. So again, setting those boundaries to take care of ourselves so we can take care of other people.
And it models boundaries for your children.
It does.
They need to know that they exist, and they should have them for themselves as well when it comes to their friendships and other relationships that they have.
Exactly. Yeah.
So important.
And then with the faith side of it, we've talked about this before, but just recognizing like how important rest is, like that Jesus modeled that for us. Jesus rested. I mean, the Sabbath, when God created the earth, like he rested on the seventh day. Like, it's right from the beginning, the importance of actual rest, and how much we need it.
Yeah. Having compassion for others without self-destruction. Very much that's modeled in the Bible.
Yes.
And I think, if we are believers and we read the Bible and we're trying to mimic and live a life modeled from the Bible, we need to recognize that. Like, Jesus often went alone by himself. How many times in the Gospels he retreated alone.
Yeah.
And it was never at the expense of his followers. He never, abandoned them or, gave them less of himself, but he had to do that even in his godness, right?
Yeah.
But in his humanness needed that rest, that solitude, that withdrawal from the crowds, from the stress of life.
Yeah. Taking that time to like listen and just be still. Yeah.
I love that. This is powerful stuff. Boundaries are not bad. We have to have them. Without them, things get chaotic. So, maybe boundaries are not about becoming less loving. Maybe they're about finally loving yourself enough to stop disappearing.
Yeah.
You do not have to earn rest. That's so huge.
So huge.
I feel that so often that I have to earn that right to rest, but it's not true. You do not have to prove your worth through exhaustion, and you are allowed to protect the life, the health, the peace, and the relationships that matter most. Please share this. Send this right now to that friend, that woman in your life that needs to hear this message. Boundaries are so important, and we hope you have found this helpful. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of A Journey to Whole Woman Health.
Thank you for joining us on A Journey to Whole Woman Health. If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend, leave a review, or subscribe so you don't miss future conversations. Remember, your questions matter, your health matters, and wholeness is a journey. Until next time.
Now for the legal language. The information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical or mental health advice. Listening to this podcast does not establish a doctor-patient
or therapist-client relationship, always consult your own qualified healthcare provider regarding any medical concerns.